Clarko, it's a pretty big week for the club. How's everyone feeling inside?
Yeah, well, it's exciting. For three clubs, 100 years in AFL footy, VFL footy is, the Bulldogs and Hawthorn have already acknowledged their journey in this great competition, great game of ours, and we get the chance to do it on Thursday night. So, it's actually more so the club than the players and the coaching staff, but for them to reconnect with the history of the footy club and track back to all the stories and all the things that have transpired over a long period of time, including some of the tough times, the jumper changes, the relocation of the club at different stages to Brunswick Street Oval for a period of time and then back to Arden Street. So all that history comes up when you're celebrating 100 years of the club. So pretty special, and it'll be great to reconnect with some of the characters that were great contributors to our footy club over a long period of time.
Is he excited? The word you'd use in a week like this, or what's it?
Well, I've mentioned a couple of times that we're temporary custodians at the moment, in coaching staff, administration, and also the playing group. So, the baton's been passed to us. We're trying our darnest to get our club back to the competitive side that we want it to be. So our focus is pretty much on that, to be fair. But our excitement around the club in terms of reconnecting with the past is pretty special. So I think we'll see some of that on Thursday night.
I see Dennis Pagan will be involved, and I see right that he'll be addressing past and present players before the match. What's going to be happening there? And
I think there's a whole heap of things that are going on. But if all our fans and that go to the game can be in their seats by 6:45, I think there's some sort of pre-game that the fans will acknowledge and get a chance to recognise those who made huge contributions. And Dennis is part of that. If he can address the group of people that are going to be on the ground, including the playing group as they come through the banner. There's no one more fitting, really, particularly in the more recent history of our club, the last 30, 40 years. He and Greg Miller, in my view, are the two that know the ins and outs of the footy club and all the characters that have come through the club in that period of time. So it's pretty fitting that he'd address the group.
What are you expecting him to say?
I'm not really sure, but we've left that pretty much up to him. It's not for me to try to tell Dennis how to address a group like that, and it'll be because of his connection to the club. He played here for the best part of 10 years and coached here for 20, if you include under 19 years as well as senior coach, and it's special to us both, but in particular, runs through his veins. So whatever he has to say, it'll be heartfelt.
There's been quite a bit of noise about the 75 crew. Is it sort of a bit disappointing in a week of celebration?
Oh no, they're very, very difficult things to organise to try to please everyone. But the club's done a great job in bringing together a whole heap of people, and ultimately it's the choice of people whether they want to be involved in it or not. And we've got a big crew of people coming, and it's really about recognising the significance of the club and the milestones it's achieved over that period of time, 100-year journey, pretty special, of which all of us at different stages are just temporary custodians. No one's more important than the other, except the one enduring thing is the club itself.
You said on Saturday you wouldn't be digging too deep into the performance on Saturday afternoon, but I guess how deep can you tell us have you gone into it to try and motivate the guys for Thursday?
It's a little bit to do with Thursday night, a lot to do with what's transpired before us. We just got beaten in the contest, an area of the game that we've been pretty strong at the previous 6 or 8 weeks, and just let ourselves badly down in that area of the game on the weekend. So whether it's a significant milestone game for the club or not, we've got to address that part of our footy. And if we do, we'll give ourselves some sort of chance of being really, really competitive against the Dogs. But if we don't, we know what they can do to teams. If you don't bring strong contest against the Western Bulldogs, you're going to be in a bit of trouble.
How do you fix that contest stuff?
It's not easy to do because you can't just go and pull players from other clubs. It really just comes from internal, and some of it's to do with just preparation and mindset, but I think the bitterness of that you feel when you have a performance like that, and to the credit of the players, we've been pretty good in that space for the last 2 months, and just let ourselves down on the weekend.
Did you have to give the players a bit of a serve, or did you keep things pretty positive?
Well, because it's an aberration, it's as I said, we haven't been like that. We've been really good in that space for the last 6 or 8 weeks. But it happens, The team that beat us on the weekend, very, very good in that space. But they had a game like that against Port Adelaide in Adelaide about 8 weeks ago, and Port was 70 points up. 20 minutes into the second quarter, you just couldn't possibly think that it could happen, but it does in AFL footy. And the really, really good sides, it happens very, very infrequently. And that's where we're aspiring to get to. We've had 3 games this year where we've been really, really poor in contest. The Sydney Swans round 4, round 6 against Carlton, and then last week against the Hawks. And in all of those games, we've been really, really poor. We've been blown off the park. So it's a pretty clear indicator for us. If we're good in that space, we'll be competitive. If we fall away badly, then the margin will disappear pretty quick.
How's Harry Sheasland? Will he play?
Yeah, well, we've got a whole heap of guys that because it's such a short break, and we trained today, and most of those guys are able to do something today. It's really just flush running and just getting them moving a bit, and we'll train a little bit more tomorrow, and then select our side tomorrow night.
Is Luke Parker okay? He wasn't out on the track today.
Yeah, well, he's one of those guys that we need to test tomorrow. Some of them didn't come out on the track at all today, or they just did very, very light duties on the side, or with the view that they'll present tomorrow with another 24 hours of recovery and see how we go. But we'll have a couple of certainties out, which we've already named in terms, obviously George and Jack Darling, and we'll test a couple of others tomorrow and see how they pull up. And if they're no good, we'll just go with fresh guys.
How's George going?
Yeah, he seems fine. He's recovered pretty well, and he did some laps today. And but obviously, concussion, he goes under the protocols, and we'll be guided by the docs, and hopefully we'll get him back pretty soon.
Do you think he has to change something? Like, it's unfortunate given,
Well, he's been asked this question plenty of times. It's just like, what can you change with him? He's habitual. It's the way he plays his footy, and you just hope over time he just gathers a little bit more awareness, a little bit more luck, a bit stronger in his body, perhaps. But yeah, I'd try to take the beast out of the way that he plays, and you won't have the same George Wardlaw. So that's the risk that we all have when we play the game, and hope he gets a good run of luck.
Is he on that same page with you, I'm sure?
Yeah.
Just there's been a chatter on wildcard rounds and the thought of that heading into finals. What's your stance on that?
I haven't heard any of the chatter, and haven't even given any thought, so I can't really comment on it. Sorry, mate.
How do you stop Sam Darcy?
Yeah, geez, wish we could put 3 on him. He's been formidable, hasn't he? We just got to make sure that he doesn't get the sort of supply and sort of shoulders out supply. If he's getting a good look at it like that, it's going to be pretty hard. And that's what happened last week. That's why we've got to be so strong in the contest, because if an opposition gets the opportunity to be shoulders out like Hawthorn were last week, then Gunston kicks 7, Joel kicks 5, Ramsden kicks 3. Anyone will kick goals if you can't compete in the contest through the middle of the ground strongly. So that's a key focus for us, and hopefully that'll help out our defenders and those poor buggers that are having to play on Sam Darcy.
Do you deploy a tag to Bond, or is it Libba or is it Ed Richards?
Well, that's the thing with the Bulldog side. You try to stamp one. I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago, Windhager went to Bondapelli, did a super job, kept him well below his average touches, but they still lose by 72 points or 10 goals or something because someone else bobs up. So and they've got some really, really good players through the middle of the ground. So we'll try to keep them in check as best we can, but as pretty much the whole message of our performance last week and the outcome of that game, and also the preview to this game, we need to be strong in the contest, and if we're strong in the contest, then hopefully that'll allow us to be able to compete really strong with those guys, whether we've got a strong tag on them or not.
Just in terms of your coaching philosophy, do you look at like round one against the Dogs, or do you have to sort of just look at the last month of footy?
Oh, a little bit of both. Your best guide in a way is you against that direct opponent, but so often in AFL footy that's 10, 12, 15 weeks ago. So a lot of things change in that period of time, including your personnel in a lot of instances. So you can't always look at that, but you try to keep an eye on that as well as what they've been doing over the last 3 or 4 weeks. Is probably more of a guide, because you've got an idea with the sometimes even the way that they play has changed since round one. So let's keep an eye on both, really.
A few weeks ago, you spoke about the difficulty of the balance with Colby McKercher, half-back, getting a lot of the footy versus throwing him in the engine room, and where he's going to develop in the future. He's played some pretty handy footy for the past few weeks. How have you sort of seen that balance compared to about a month ago?
Yeah, well, and that's the challenge we've got with both he and Harry. We think eventually they're going to be really, really valuable players for us in the middle of the ground and perhaps more mid-forward rather than rebounding off half-back. But, we're having real trouble at different stages in being able to transition the ball out of our back end. And we took Shees down there for 3 or 4 weeks, and then we put Colby down there. So horses for courses, it's the needs of the team and needs of the club, and but eventually we see their futures being more in the middle of the ground. But just at the current time, where can they assist the team and play a really important role for us? And right at this point in time, Colby, you're right, he's given us a bit of bounce out of our back end in the last 3 or 4 weeks since he's been there, and that's helped us. Has also allowed us to put Shees back in the middle of the ground as well.